Welcome to the SIWIKE podcast, the only podcast that shares the stuff you didn't know you needed to know about jobs, careers, and life. The SIWIKE podcast, the stuff I wish I knew earlier.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the SIWIKE Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier podcast. We're here with our guest, Vanessa, and I'll let her do a little bit of her introduction. But we're going to talk a little bit about her backstory. She comes to us with a background in HR and a little bit of business. So Vanessa, what are you up to these days?
Yeah, thank you. So as he said, my name is Vanessa. I currently am a technical recruiter at SoundHound working in the voice AI industry. We started at SoundHound with music recognition and now hiring a lot of software engineering roles specifically. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I found my specialty. But I didn't always start here. I actually started so I started as a competitive dancer in my childhood and discovered that ultimately my next step was business management. I'll do a quick overview. Went to business school, and through finding out what I didn't enjoy as much, I landed in a more people-oriented degree, which was majoring in human resources and minoring in law. From there, experienced a lot of different industries like warehousing and logistics, retail, and now software engineering or computer software. Really getting into a lot more specialty in voice technology specifically.
Sounds good. So if we can kind of rewind, go back in time and find out what was Vanessa like as a kid. So what's kind of the earliest childhood memory that you remember, maybe involved dancing or something like that? What are some of what were you like as a kid?
Yeah, I love this question. So I definitely involves dancing and music. I was a competitive dancer. So that was my sport or art choice, people might want to call it. I was in love with music, always have been. Loved also, like in general, loved being with family and friends, loved people, and really loved helping people, trying to do what I can to see others happy. That was always a type of child I was. And often wanting to lead things, take the lead on things. But then on the flip side, also pretty hard on myself through, I think, my competitive dance background, pretty much a perfectionist, as you would call it, really wanted to see great results.
Gotcha.
For others and for myself. So that'd be how I describe it.
Cool. So growing up in kind of that dancing world, were there other influence around you? Were other people dancers, or what was like your parents, your family, the influence around you? What were those like?
Yeah, that's a great question too. No one directly in my family were a dancer. I think I was lucky to have the opportunity of early on, my parents recognizing, okay, she loves singing, she loves music, she loves dancing. And I got the option to try out singing and dancing. And it became so busy and competitive that it seemed like both got pretty hectic during one given week. So 7 days to manage a competitive dancing schedule got quite difficult. So I had that hard decision to make between, do I want to pursue singing or dancing? And how I made that decision, I think, was I was quite young. So this is also conversations with my parents, but what I'm proud of and how that was made was deciding between an individual type of art, really, versus a team environment. And I think I've benefited most from that, really taking dance into a decision that led to a great group of strong friends, and then also those life, lessons around teamwork and cohesiveness.
Okay. Can you walk us through a little bit about the kind of singing dance? Is that like high school, before high school, or what age group, like how young? And then is that kind of like you have singing classes and then competitions and then dance classes and competitions and things like that? And like what was a week like? It seems like it could be pretty hectic and busy with all of that stuff. Plus you have school, I imagine, and all that sort of stuff as well.
Exactly. Yeah, you're getting it. I was around 5, I believe, or 6 when I started dancing. That's actually when I made the decision around 6 to just stick with dancing more seriously.
Okay.
As I like grew as a dancer, there was little moments where I would test out still and sing or record in a recording studio or on my own time, just for that love of music in general.
Right.
But that's how young I started. Schedule was increasingly hectic. So it started more for fun and recreational, maybe once or twice a week. And as I grew older, it really got into being at the studio 5 days a week.
Oh, wow.
Being at the studio at 4 p.m. Eastern time, my time, where it's, you're going to school, you're going to elementary school, you're eating quickly at the back of the dance studio, and then you're right into class till 10 p.m. At night. So really busy days, but we loved it. And I had some amazing moments there. And it was also, you asked about schooling. It was also into high school, where I went to St. Elizabeth Catholic High School, and that's performing arts school. So that's where I also continued to study dance and actively pursue dance at high school.
Gotcha. And on the competitive side, so were you like placing and you were like champion of this and that, or is it hopefully that's an okay question to ask?
Yeah, I can't say I was the champion and the best out there, but we were definitely traveling a lot. I would say 4 to 5 times a year into different locations to meet with other dance studios and compete. I had, I think, one year, one of my most busy and competitive years, I had about 14, maybe even 16 routines that year, which is quite high. So remembering those dances and routines, and then having to practice for all of those were quite busy. So
cool. And what sort of effort was involved in like learning one routine? So you have 14. Is it like a month's worth of work to learn one routine?
Yeah, so the seasons usually, and this takes me back a while, so I hope I get all the points accurate. But learning, so it actually, the season starts from September typically to around June, so kind of like a school year.
Okay.
Summer, you're still involved maybe in some dance camps to keep up training, or you get a break, and it would be pretty much from September to, I'd say, January or February of technique. And then in the middle of that time frame, you're starting to actually create the routines with a dance instructor, and then have weekly practices. Typically per dance routine, you have at least once a week, every week, dedicated 30 minutes to an hour on that specific routine.
Sounds like a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And then that ultimately transitioned into business. So how did that process happen? Dances, I'm sure people could compare dance and business. You have a good analogy. But how did that career in dance, budding career in dance, turn into business?
Yeah, so it's often sometimes hard to all the time invested, and I'm sure a lot of people have these thoughts, and it's like, why don't I see myself now as a dance professional, or doing, pursuing dance as a career choice?
Sure.
I think what ultimately made me make that decision was analyzing, really, when I asked that question, do I see myself dancing as my career in the future? As I think as I started to get to the near end of high school, the near end of my time at the competitive dance studio, I didn't feel that excitement. I didn't see myself, full-time engaged in dance only.
Okay.
I think that's always been, especially in my younger years, something I believed in. Like, I wanted a lot of excitement for what I did every day, especially, looking forward at becoming an adult. So I didn't know where to start, really. I had, some people in my circle already at business school. I knew I loved talking about businesses and technology, but I knew nothing really about business. I didn't know, if this would really be the right step, but I kind of deep dived and took a chance. And it wasn't easy. I started exploring at Ryerson accounting and finance courses, and ultimately did not enjoy that, but still wanted to enroll in my business degree. And thankfully, the first year I learned you can have sort of like a general view at many different courses. And that's where I really discovered, okay, do I like law? Do I like accounting? Do I like HR, marketing? And I really got to experience that. And one of the greatest decisions was being able to test and learn about everything and see, what best reflects my character, my my desires, what best would make me excited. And that easily enough was always my HR specific courses.
Cool. And could you walk us through a little bit more about kind of that decision? So you went to an art school. So I would imagine most of your fellow classmates and students were they also going to like arts careers and degrees, like going into dance and what have you? And then you are the black sheep going into business. That's what, is that how it was? Or is it like, no, most people end up going from art school to somewhere else anyway. So what was that kind of transition or mindset like?
Yeah, great question. I have some of my strongest friends are from dance, and I would say not one of us. There's let's say a group of 5. Not one of us are dance professionals right now. Not one of us chose it as a career. But looking back in my studio in general, that's kind of just to give a data sample there. But looking back at my career in general, there are a few who did pursue it from my dance classes, whether it's dance teaching, owning a studio, maybe music videos, auditioning. So there are ways to pursue dance. I think you gotta have that passion. So I wasn't really that sheep or that unique one that didn't.
Okay.
I think what it showed, Luki, is that sometimes a sport or a childhood, something you do for 10 years can still bring so much other benefits to what you do next. And I think that's ultimately what we all learned, is that journey, and talking about like, what did we get from that, and how do we view that? And that's been really positive around like I said, life skills, team building skills, and ultimately making it get me to hopefully a career I enjoy more.
For sure. Yeah, I was talking to another recruiter friend who basically they love like athletes or folks in art, basically someone who again has to go to a workout or studio or whatever like 5 days a week and wake up at like 4 a.m. to get on a bus at 6 a.m. to do 2 hours before class, and then the same thing after class, because just dedication and work ethic and stuff like that is at such a different level. And to get them to do whatever it is, business or accounting or economics, and yeah, that stuff's easy. But I love you talked a little bit more about, again, that decision from the arts into business. So you were exploring, you said you had a couple of folks around you in business, but there's the other side, the English humanities stuff, like the science and tech and stuff. Were those two ever a consideration, or was it kind of a clear-cut path into business?
Yeah, good question. Science and tech, never. I actually,
okay.
It's interesting. I had, right now I have such a strong interest in computer science, computer software, for what I want to hire for what I want to be recruiting for. I'm enjoying that a lot and believe in many relatable products. But if I take it back a few years, or when I had to make that decision, it was just business in general. I didn't get driven to, I knew I actually didn't enjoy science from high school. Technology, just your natural, child excited about things on the computer or the latest iPhone. It was just at a basic level of excitement. So yeah, ultimately it was just, let me try business to explore many avenues and then figure out, what I like from there. A good thing to bring up is what drew me to a computer science oriented company was actually my passion for music. So that's the turnaround there. And that's where I always get really excited, because I'm like, okay, my dance and my music love ultimately made me really, really want to look for something in my career that was related to my passions, right? And where I am now, they started with the music recognition app. So it's that's what really excited me. Although they're working on voice recognition, that music component made me so excited to be, recruiting and sharing with others what we're working on, because I was naturally passionate about it as well.
For sure. Yeah, it sounds like an interesting journey to kind of bring some of your old world into the new world, and how you something where you're one totally not interested, but that's what you seek out from a lot of people as well. It's kind of an interesting turn of events as well. I'd love if you walk us through a little bit kind of that exploration into HR. So you're in general business, you're exploring accounting, economics, finance, all those sort of things. And then you said you tested these things. Is it more like testing as in like taking different courses, or was there kind of like experiential learning that you had, or just people you talked to? Like, how was that testing process for you?
Yeah, another really great question I could elaborate on quite a bit. So first year business school, yes, it was general, and the testing was through courses. Getting to choose HR specifically, allowing me to enter more HR specific courses, then broke HR down, right? And I was able to then explore employee relations courses, compensation and benefits courses, different avenues within HR that I didn't maybe even knew existed. And my favorite course, something I was probably the most highly engaged in, was recruitment and selection. That was the title of the course. So that natural progression of, watching myself, analyzing what do I feel excited about? That was always my favorite question, right? I wanted to find a career I was happy with and would enjoy. And that started with my course. I wasn't too excited about the other ones. It was kind of process of elimination. But it's not always as simple as that might be sounding from me. I also, on the other hand, tried to get into the workplace. So pretty young, still in school, leveraged my network and connections and family members and friends to really kickstart a part-time job that's most relevant to my career and my studies. And really, really thankful for one of my cousins who allowed me to start at National Logistics Services, which is a retail warehousing company. It was more warehousing and logistics. Not ideally was I passionate per se of the industry, but I was so excited to have that opportunity of learning more about HR, and that connection there. It was an awesome sort of internship experience that really grew into a more part-time and even full-time role throughout summers in school. I got a lot of real life examples of different HR departments, and that's where I really started to test out a lot more and find talent acquisition in the end.
Sounds good. So it kind of speaks to, well, talking more to auntie, uncle, and cousin, this and that, because you never know when they can help you with something. And networking is so important, whether it's family or friends or volunteering or something. The people can often have great impacts. And that work experience, I think, is super important because, what if you graduated and got into something but never even tried it before? You probably want to try it once or twice before you go through that process. I think that a lot of that is very important. And I liked how you had that question of what excited me, what was interesting to me, and then kept that in the back of your mind, and then help that direct you in the course of, I guess, picking an area of interest for you in the business side. Were there any other like kind of key decisions or milestones in your life that you think kind of helped you along this trajectory, or any other kind of key moments that happened to you?
I would say a key moment was at National Logistics Services. So it was the opportunity I got during university. I was given the, I would say, positive opportunity to have a really strong HR mentor who was not only interested in just the team growth, but the career growth of her team. And a lot of what I was doing was helping, like I was saying before, the HR team as a generalist, so touching many different HR areas. But through working with her, I leaned towards recruiting. I really enjoyed career fairs and the mass hiring that they had to accomplish, and the reward and fulfillment I saw through helping with the chance to give careers to others. And what happened there was I started in that HR generalist role, and we created a new role together, my past director and I, focusing on talent acquisition and culture. I think that was a pivotal moment where I was like, okay, this can be reality. I could, focus on these type of topics only as a full-time job. And that's where I learned, recruitment can be really busy and is really busy. And so is culture. And culture is only becoming more and more important for businesses to succeed. So that was a key point in my career that really now kickstarted my talent acquisition specialty and culture focused mindset. And then, I'd say I have a second one. Second one would be being reached out to from a recruiter at SoundHound. So as I was in that talent and culture role, what stood out to my current company was that focus on culture, was my background with music passion and dance. And it was obviously a recruiting role. So of course the talent acquisition specialty. And that combination apparently really stood out to the recruiter that contacted me. So I feel, super, super lucky to call that the key milestone, because if it wasn't for that job change, that, chance to take on a newly created role and try to make my own of it, I might have not been contacted from SoundHound either. So everything kind of leads to the next, but you don't always know you're heading for that.
Sounds good. So what I took from that is, if you have those passions, some people keep them hidden because, well, it's a hobby. It's not something that I do anymore, but it can be a differentiator, because if there's a music company or whatever that wants to hire, who else would be better at that intersection of kind of the role and kind of the interest and passion. So I think that's amazing. So if you were able to go back in time and give yourself some SWIKE, the stuff I wish I knew earlier, I don't know if it's maybe in university or high school, what are kind of pivotal moments in your career, what sort of SWIKE would you give yourself?
Yeah, I had to think about this one. There's so many. I think what really, although there could be many, what really stood out as the number one is that voice of everything will be okay and losses are critical to life success. For me, and what you've already been able to learn a bit about me, I wish I would tell myself that a lot sooner, that you need to experience mistakes, you need to experience a loss to maybe, kickstart and succeed a lot further. That's something I easily got caught up in. I often built this idea that I had to reach perfection, and I just wish I had someone maybe tell me a bit more, or tell myself a bit more, that things will pan out. And when you're kind of worrying too much, I think you're only bringing yourself down from accomplishing something positive. So that's a bit about what I would say.
Sounds good. Yeah, it's one of those things where a lot of people suffer from that kind of perfectionistic tendencies, that sort of perfectionism, right? So I think for a lot of us to say like, it's fine, don't worry about it. You can kind of move on, recover from that loss, and it's not loss, it's just a learning, something for you to grow from. I think that's amazing. So what are some of the kind of future aspirations or upcoming milestones or things that we can look forward from you? And maybe if you can provide kind of like contact information, or folks are okay to connect with you on social media, where could they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So future aspirations, really, as you probably could imagine, really wanting to stick with the technology industry, really want to stick with talent acquisition and culture focused expertise. So hopefully one day encouraging a team, a people and culture org for a company to grow. That's what I care deeply about. Continuing to just, join a mission I'm extremely excited about. That will often be, I think, the trend in my career, needing to have that passion about the products that I support with recruitment. To do the best I can with recruiting and for businesses and for people's careers. So to contact me, LinkedIn would be, I'd say, the best. Vanessa Colalilo on LinkedIn. Also, really open to sharing my email. So it could be vanessacolalilo@gmail.com or at Soundhound V, a little bit easier, vcolalilo at soundhound.com, and always really open to speaking about people's careers and helping them make these tough choices.
Sounds good. We'll put all the contact information in the show notes to make it easy for folks. But yeah, and you'll probably find Vanessa in various kind of career fairs or panels or things like that. And feel free to reach out and connect. But thanks, Vanessa, for sharing your story. And hopefully we'll have you back for a future episode to deep dive on some other topics. So thanks for being on this episode.
I hope so too. Thank you so much. Take care, Luki.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us on the SIWIKE Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier, the podcast. If you like the podcast, please subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you found this podcast. And if you can give us a review, that would be very appreciated. Feel free to contact me on LinkedIn at Lukidanu, Lukidanu, and the same on most social media platforms. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Bye.